Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the QWERTY LOL channel. Today, I've got a bit more of a chilled video for you today, sort of a bit less of a, fast-paced, snappy video. Around about 6 years ago, almost exactly, I uploaded a video titled My Pokemon Teams from Every Game, where a little prepubescent 13-year-old Sam, no, not even 13 yet, oh my god, talked about his experiences in the Pokemon world, playing through all of the games and, the teams that I use, etc. I used to love watching videos from YouTubers such as Birdkeeper Toby, TrueGreen7, just talking about their experiences in the Pokemon world and, the team members they had, and I had a lot of fun doing the same. And obviously, in 6 years, quite a lot has changed. Not just in Pokemon, but in real life. I look like this now, and I sound like this. And this was me 6 years ago. Not a care in the fucking world. Now, of course, because I'm a virginous freak of nature, if I were to talk about all my Pokemon teams, then this video would go on for about 7 hours. So what I'm going to do is basically do one Pokemon team from every region. And it doesn't have to be my first playthrough of every region. It can just be whatever one I enjoyed the most. So without any further ado, if you do enjoy the video, please do hit subscribe. I'm really feeling the Pokemon content in a minute. So if you enjoy Pokemon stuff, this is the channel for you at the moment. Episode 2 of the Cobblemon SMP will be coming out soon, by the way, for those of you who subscribe for that. Don't worry, I got you. And let's get straight into this with the OG region, Kanto. So fun fact, I've only played through Kanto about 3 times. Once in Blue, once in Leaf Green, and once in Let's Go Pikachu. And I'll be honest, Kanto is probably my least favorite region. I don't really have any, nostalgia towards it, because I started with Hoenn. So, I do need to play it again. I'm planning on playing through Yellow for the first time soon, which should be cool. But for now, I'm going to talk about my Pokemon Blue team. My team for Pokemon Blue was as follows. I started off with a Blastoise, as I'm sure you can imagine by me choosing Blue. Blastoise is my favorite Kanto starter and one of my favorite Pokemon ever. I then had a Pidgeotto, but after realizing it doesn't get a flying type move for ages, I switched it out for Fearow because Gust in Gen 1 was a normal type move. I then got a Clefable from Mount Moon, but also ended up replacing that Pokemon too with a Hitmonlee because, well, I don't really need a normal type, and I don't know, I like Hitmonlee. Then came Victory Bell, fun little Kanto grass type I'd never really used before. And speaking of Kanto Pokemon I'd never used, Dugtrio joined the team. Don't know why, if I wanted the ground type, I didn't just choose Rhydon or Golem. Don't know why I went with Dugtrio, but I did. And then the final member of the team was Jolteon, who was at the time my favorite evolution. Although now I think I'm more of an Espeon kind of guy. This was my Gen 1 Kanto team, and honestly, I didn't love this playthrough. I'm just not overly fond of Kanto. But that being said, I am excited to play Yellow and hopefully get a new fresh experience, because this team was from 6 years ago, around the same time I made that video. But we're going to move straight on to Johto, which I've played quite a few times. And I'm going to be talking about my first experience playing Pokemon Heart Gold, which was maybe 8 years ago now in 2017. And I fucking love this team. It's just so fun. I started off with a Typhlosion, which is weird because now I think I prefer both Meganium and Feraligatr, but Typhlosion is still cool, don't get me wrong. Then came Ampharos, a staple in most Johto playthroughs and a very reliable team member to have. I then, down in Zubat Cave, caught myself a Slowpoke, which became a Slowbro. An unexpected Pokemon, but actually ended up being the MVP. In fact, I distinctly remember him clutching up against the Elite Four for me and being the only reason I was able to beat Lance, so I was very attached to this Slowbro. Then came a bit of an oddball, Shiny Pidgeot. Yeah, it's a full-on shiny. I found it up in National Park, I think, north of Goldenrod, and this was my first pre-Gen 6 odds shiny. I've only ever found 2, and the second one you'll find out about in a bit. I then caught the Lake of Rage Gyarados because, yes, listen, I know that's 2 water types and 2 flying types, but I was an 11-year-old kid. Do you really think that in my first Johto playthrough, I wasn't going to take the free red Gyarados? And then rounding off the team, we had Donphan, a pretty unexpected pick, but a really underrated one. Anyway, I love this team. I don't think I ever beat red with it, but I did with my second Heart Gold team. I'll talk a bit more about that team maybe in a part 2 if you guys want to see one. I'm down to do it. But for now, that's my Johto team. I love this team. I still have them, obviously, in Pokemon Home or whatever. And we're going to move straight on to Hoenn. And now, as I said, Hoenn was the first region I ever played through. Emerald was my first game. I lost that cartridge after a while, but I did buy a pre-owned copy of Emerald, which I have literally sat under my desk right now. And I'm going to be honest, for so long in my life, I just played through Omega Ruby 25 times using the same team over and over again. It would just be Swampert, Breloom, Manectric, Camerupt, Swellow. and a random 6th mon. Sometimes it was Heracross, sometimes it was Groudon. You know, like, that would be my Hoenn experience. But in recent years, I have done a couple unique playthroughs of Hoenn. So I'm going to talk about my most recent playthrough of Omega Ruby, which I finished last year. And I decided in this game, because as I said, you know, this is the Pokemon game I've played the most. I decided this time I was going to use a team of more than 6 Pokemon and rotate them around. And it was difficult, but I did actually quite enjoy it. The full team of 10 Pokemon that I used was Blaziken, Crobat, Breloom, Tentacruel, Mawile, Absol, Zangoose, Claydol, Manectric, and Salamence. If you ask me, a pretty cool collection of Pokemon, including some that I've never really used before, like Tentacruel and Mawile, who, by the way, was the MVP. Mega Mawile is an absolute fucking beast, especially with huge power, which is what I had. The 6 Pokemon that I beat the league with the first time was, I believe, Blaziken, Tentacruel, Claydol, Manectric, Mawile, and Salamence. So that's my Hall of Fame team. I really enjoyed this playthrough, you know, especially because I picked Blaziken for once instead of fucking Swampert. And I would like to do another unique Hoenn playthrough like this in the near future. I'm planning on doing some kind of like water type only playthrough of Emerald soon. But anyway, moving on to the Sinnoh region. I've only actually played through, I think, Pearl once, Platinum once, Shining Pearl once, and then Legends Arceus twice. So I'm going to talk about my first playthrough of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I know it's Hisui and not, you know, and not really, but it's Sinnoh. Come on, I love this team. Let me talk about this team. The team was as follows: Hisui and Decidueye, Luxray, Alakazam, Hisui and Arcanine, Walrein, and Garchomp. If you ask me, this is just a pretty sick team all around, and each member was an MVP at different points. And I think that my enjoyment with this team was enhanced by Legends Arceus just being maybe the best Pokemon games that we've ever had, maybe aside from Black and White 2. You know, the immersive gameplay and actually being able to physically catch the Pokemon and throw them out at any time and just have them. Why the fuck these features aren't more commonplace in Pokemon, I don't know. Like, why they reverted back to the old catching style immediately later the same year in Scarlet and Violet is beyond me. But anyway, I love this team so much. So many cool Pokemon, and ones that I've wanted to use for a long time. Like, I don't think I'd actually properly used a Luxray by that point. Or a Walrein. I mean, Walrein was the real MVP. I fucking love Walrein, man. What a tank. But anyway, now we're moving on to Unova. Now, Unova is probably the region that I've played the most of outside of Hoenn. I've played through Black 2 and White 2, I think, completely now 3 times. I'm on my 4th playthrough currently. And Black and White I played through, God, countless times as a kid. And I do still have my really very meaningful to me Pokemon Black team from when I was 7 in my Pokemon home, but I want to talk about that team another time, because today I want to talk about my 3rd Black 2 team, which I consider to be one of my favorite teams I've ever had in all Pokemon. Maybe my favorite. I started off with a Samurott, okay? Samurott, in my opinion, is probably the coolest Unova starter. Emboar I have the most emotional attachment to, but Samurott's just so cool. I, of course, like anyone playing through Black 2 and White 2, made use of the Riolu at Flocesi Ranch and got myself a Lucario pretty much straight away. And also got myself a Magnezone, because I hadn't used a Magnezone in a really long time, and I think it's an underratedly cool Pokemon. And then came 2 of my absolute favorite members. 2 Pokemon caught in the desert north of Castelia City, Crocodile and Sigilyph. Firstly, Sigilyph is just so much fun. Okay, I never really considered Sigilyph before as like a remarkable Pokemon. I thought it was just kind of whatever, it's there. But after using it, dude, not only is it really underratedly powerful, but it's also just got such a cool design, and I think it might be my favorite Psychic type now. And Crocodile. Oh my god. You know the post-game gauntlet in Black 2 and White 2 where you can either receive a shiny Gible or a shiny Dratini if you complete like the different battle facilities? I swept the entire Black 2 battle facility with Crocodile. He is level 100. Crocodile is just so overpowered. I cannot believe I've never used one before. Get a Crocodile with the ability Moxie, and you're just set. And then for my 6th Pokemon, I got a Haxorus, because as a Unova fanboy, using a Haxorus has always been a dream, and my one certainly lived up to my expectations. But there was one more change that happened to this team, because around the time I got my 7th gym badge, I found a full-odds shiny Mienfoo. And, you know, not being one to complain about another full-odds shiny, I replaced Lucario with it. Although, actually, I think at this point I had a Cobalion, because I think I was originally going to replace Lucario with Cobalion, because it's like a legendary that's the same type. And then I replaced it with Mienshao, because, you know, that's a full-on shiny. And the end result is this team, which I just absolutely adore. And, you know, it's one of the most special teams to me, because I really played the shit out of this Black 2 save file. Very almost got the completed Pokédex Shiny Haxorus at the end, but not quite. We'll see if we get there. Anyway, moving on to Kalos. This is one of the games that I played loads and loads when I was really little. But not so much in recent years. In fact, I think my most recent completed playthrough of Kalos was as far back as 2019. I did start a couple months ago a playthrough of Kalos, again, of Pokemon X, which I intend to continue. But for now, I'm going to talk about my Pokemon X team from 2019, which was Greninja, Talonflame, Venusaur, Sylveon, Tyrantrum, and Gallade. If you ask me, pretty cool team. And there were lots of Pokemon here that I'd always wanted to use, but only just got the chance with this playthrough, such as Gallade, one of my favorite psychic types, Tyrantrum, maybe my favorite fossil, maybe outside of Aerodactyl, I don't know, and Sylveon, you know, one of my favorite evolutions. It was really just a great team. So yeah, pretty standard for Kalos, but hopefully I'll have a new Pokemon X team to talk about very soon, because I want to finish it before ZA comes out later this year. Now on to Alola. This is another one of those teams that just really, really means a lot to me. My original Pokemon Sun team. This is the first Pokemon game that I actually like asked my parents for when I was 10 years old. And I had to wait till Christmas to get it because, you know, like my parents wanted to just get me in the middle of November, so I had to wait till Christmas. I did, although, watch entire Let's Plays of Pokemon Sun before getting it, so I knew the entire story of the game, but that didn't make it any less enjoyable for me. I still had a great time. My team was Decidueye, Alolan Raichu, Lycanroc Midday Form, Toxapex, Turtonator, and Solgaleo. I'm pretty sure the Solgaleo slot was a Palisand at one point, but I think I switched it. This team is so cool. I mean, Decidueye is just my favorite grass type, and I was going to go for Incineroar ahead of the release of the game, but for some reason, at the last minute, I picked Rowlet, and I'm very happy I did. Alolan Raichu is adorable, and just a really cool version of Raichu. Lycanroc is obvious. I mean, you know, I don't need to explain why this is cool. Toxapex is a fun little water type, and Turtonator, I think, has a crazy design that I fucking love. I think he's such an underrated Pokemon. And, you know, Solgaleo being the legendary mascot, obviously 10-year-old me wanted him. I played the shit out of this Pokemon Sun with this team. I'm pretty sure, actually, my Decidueye was my first Pokemon to hit level 100 ever. There you go, my Pokemon Sun team. I've got a lot more Alola teams, actually, that I'd love to talk about another time. I need to play through Alola again. This video should make me realize how much I need to play more Pokemon, honestly. But then we move on to Galar, which is the first sort of new region since the last video, because Sword and Shield were just coming out when I made, you know, my old Pokemon teams video. So my first playthrough of Pokemon Shield is what I'm going to be talking about. And this was the first Pokemon game I ever streamed live. I did like a whole Twitch stream series doing the whole of Pokemon Shield, and as a result, I feel pretty attached to this team. I started off with Inteleon. Sobble, I still think, is one of the greatest starters of all time, and I'll be honest, I'm still pretty disappointed with how it turned out in Inteleon, but I like my one. My Inteleon's okay. Then I got Corviknight because, Jesus Christ, this is by far the coolest regional bird, like, objectively. A Colossal because I think it's just kind of like a cooler version of Golem. Low-key Toxtricity, who was my ace. I wanted the amped up form ahead of the playthrough, but ended up with a low-key form and loved it. And then a Galarian Rapidash and Runerigus. Galarian Rapidash was cool. Runerigus was a pain in my fucking ass. I actually, whoever decided that this should be the evolution method for Galarian Yamask, count your fucking days. It blew my 13-year-old mind trying to evolve Galarian Yamask. And don't get me wrong, it felt great when I got that Runerigus, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, I do feel very attached to this Pokemon Shield team. And, you know, I really like it. I haven't really touched Galar since it came out. I want to, but I'm skeptical because I have a feeling I'm going to go back and really not enjoy it as much as I did when it came out. And the DLCs were pretty fucking lackluster too. But for now, we're just going to move on and end this video with Paldea. And I've only actually done one completed playthrough of Paldea. I did a Violet Nuzlocke like a month or two after the games came out, but I don't think I ever finished it. I do intend to replay through Scarlet and Violet when I get a Switch too. Because, listen, alright, I know that this is just how the game should have run when it first released 3 years ago, aka it should have been playable, but I don't give a fuck, alright? I'm just excited to play it at 60 FPS. But anyway, my original Pokemon Scarlet team was a bit of a weird one, because I don't really like many Paldean Pokemon, I'll be honest. It's definitely my least favorite dex, and it's got just so many Pokemon that make me go, What the fuck? But nonetheless, I did still have fun with this team. It was as follows. We had Skeledirge because I actively hate the other two Paldea starters. Bellybolt, an adorable Pokemon that I love since its reveal. Tinkaton, which is definitely one of the coolest Pokemon of the generation. Titan, Paldean Tauros, and then Tyranitar, because I couldn't really find a 6 slot for like a Paldean Pokemon that I wanted. So I kind of just went with Tyranitar. This team was odd. I sort of spent like the whole playthrough trying to find a Pokemon to replace Tauros with. I don't know, I always kind of found Paldean Tauros a bit lazy, and so I kind of felt a little weird keeping him around on the team for so long. I would have got like an Armarouge or an Annihilate if I just didn't have to pick Skeledirge because of how much I dislike Meowscarada and Quaquaval. But nonetheless, that's my Scarlet team. And thus concludes my Pokemon teams from every region. I very much hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do subscribe. As I said, I'm in a very Pokemon mood at the moment, so if you like Pokemon videos, this channel is probably the space for you at this point in time, but I do also upload other stuff from time to time too. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Leave in the comments down below what some of your favorite Pokemon teams are. I'd love to read. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.